In this video, I'm going to show you how to replace your CV axle on your Fiat 500. It's located behind your front wheel. Remove your hubcap, stick a pry bar in there, or use a hubcap remover, which is similar to a pry bar. And you're just going to work your way around. And your hubcap will pop off. Using a 17mm socket, we're going to remove our wheel fasteners. Remove your wheel. We are going to disconnect the sway bar link, the top nut on the sway bar link, with a 16mm socket, and hopefully it won't spin. If it does start to spin, we'll hold it in place. Looks like we got lucky. Take that nut off and remove it. I have a floor jack underneath my control arm just to support the suspension as I dismantle this. Let's remove our speed sensor wire here. Just going to pry it away. Now let's remove our brake hose out of this bracket. You're just going to press gently with a pry bar, and it should ease its way out. Like that. Just set that off to the side, probably in back here. Let's unpeen our nut here for the axle. Ours looks peened over twice, so make sure you check for yours. And once you do that, you're going to get your 36mm socket, a thin-walled one, and take that axle nut off. There we go. Let's take our wheel speed sensor out now. I'm going to use a 5mm Allen and take the bolt out. Remove your bolt, set it aside, and now we're going to take out this sensor. To do that, you're going to want to wiggle it, and hopefully it'll move a little bit, and then you can get something under it and take it out. I'm going to put a little penetrating oil in there. I'm just going to vibrate it a little bit to get the penetrating oil in gently. All right, I'm using a really thin screwdriver, and I'm just wiggling it and adding some penetrating oil. And it looks like it's freeing up. These you have to be really careful with. They can break off. So take your time and ease it out. Now we're going to set this aside. Now's a good time to make sure your axle is free. Ours is. If it's not, you can put a punch right there in that the center part of this axle, and use a rubber mallet and try to free it up. We're going to use a 17mm socket to take off the nut. Once that starts spinning, we're going to use a wrench, a 15mm wrench, to hold it from spinning. You can push your bolts through. Just going to use a socket. make sure our axle's free still. And we're going to drop this down away from the strut. Tilt it to the side a little, let it fall forward. And remove it from the knuckle. Make sure that you don't overextend your brake hose. All right, so now you can put that off to the side. Push your knuckle back in temporarily. I have a bungee cord ready. I'm just gonna hold my knuckle up. With a bungee cord. Just so that hose doesn't get overstretched. Just make sure it's secured. And we're good to go. Now we're going to take the axle out. After you have your knuckle nicely supported, you can remove your jack and go underneath to take out the axle. So at this point, you might want a drip pan underneath in case you lose any transmission fluid. And also, I have my other end of my axle supported with a bungee cord, so it's easier to come out when you use a pry bar. So, I'm going to put a pry bar between the transmission and the axle. So now we're going to pry out the CV axle. Sometimes it takes a little muscle. But if you get it in between the transmission and the axle, and you give it a good yank, usually it comes out. There we go. And that's why I have a bungee cord at the other end. All right, so now we can take this off and take this out. We're going to insert our axle with the clip opening up, and you're going to line it up. Make sure the other wheel spins a little. That's how you know if it's lined up or not. And you're going to try to press it in by pushing. If that doesn't work, you can use a dead blow hammer, rubber mallet. So now we can take our bungee off here. I'm also going to release this other bungee cord and just rest it on my knee. Now I'm going to take this nut off. And we're going to feed our axle into our knuckle. To do that, I'm going to drop this. Make sure you don't overstretch your hose. Line it up. And push it in. And line up your strut. Line up your bolt. You can use a punch on the other side if it's easier for you. Now you can get your other one through. Now you can start your axle nut. And I'm going to put my nuts on. And once you got everything started, you're gonna snug everything up, and then we're gonna go to ride height, and we're gonna tighten everything down. All right, make sure you push in on the top of your knuckle when you snug these up. Once you're snugged up, we're going to snug up our axle. We are going to support our suspension with a jack and get it to ride height. That's looking good. And now we're going to torque everything down. We're going to torque these to 55 foot-pounds. Do the same on the bottom. So I put a couple of my studs back in, and I have a pry bar holding the wheel from spinning, and I'm going to torque this to 229 foot-pounds. All right, now you can peen over your nut. You can use a chisel and a hammer. And just for good measure, we're going to do the other end too. Now we're going to put our ABS sensor back in its bracket. Slide that in and slide your brake hose back in its bracket as well. Looking good. And now we can put our ABS sensor in our knuckle. Let's install our speed sensor. Line it up, push it in. Once you're all the way in, you install your bolt. Snug it up about wrist tight. Make sure you line up these two with the rim. Install your wheel fasteners by hand at first. Tighten them in a crisscross manner. Using a 17mm socket, we're going to torque our wheels to 63 foot-pounds. We're going to do that in a crisscross pattern. Make sure you find your divot for where your valve stem goes before putting on your hubcap. So you're going to line it up, make sure it's lined up properly, and then gently press in. Towards the end, you might need a rubber mallet. You're good to go.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.